Hey guys, so we're in the throes of the 9 days. Even the cats are going crazy. Coinciding. So, I guess this is a good time to talk about a topic that I've wanted to cover for a few days now, especially after observing what's been going on Twitter. You may ask, a lot of things happen on Twitter, Tzvi. What are you referring to specifically? What I'm referring to specifically is, well, firstly, this whole pattern or this whole kind of trend of, I guess, African American artists, singers, rappers, actors who have been following Reverend Louis Farrakhan. I guess they've been following for a while Farrakhan's wonderful musings, because you can't just listen to him once and blurt all these things out. And they've been expressing a lot of interesting things, these gentlemen on Twitter. A lot of just old anti-Semitic tropes and the usual stuff. Actually, a couple of these things, I'm not going to address them now. A couple of these things I think do require unpacking. I think there are a couple of things that they've mentioned, especially this one rapper. He talked about the Talmud and what the Talmud says about Mr. J.C. Penney, but I'll leave that for another video. I will say that the Orthodox community has been there are certain things that they have been, how should I put this, not engaging, or at least not engaging with context. But what I will say is that, apart from that, a lot of the stuff that these guys have been bringing has been the typical tropes. They've been basically echoing everything that's been said in stuff like, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is basically the most widely publicized book, in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. So, and obviously people are reading their tweets and they're following suit. They're basically agreeing, and then they're saying, oh, we can't criticize the Jews. All of a sudden we're anti-Semitic if we criticize the Jews. I mean, it's interesting. If you're not African American and you criticize African Americans, legitimately criticize. Not invent tropes. Actually say, call it like you see it. You're a racist. But if they criticize us, they feel free. Okay, listen, you can criticize us legitimately, but if you're just coming up with tropes from the Protocols of Zion, that's a whole different thing. With all that said, my friends, two things happened after this transpired in the last couple of weeks. Really, it started, I think, with Ice Cube. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So two things happened. The first thing that happened was people in the Jewish community started asking, and these are like thought leaders started asking these questions. Everybody from like Dershowitz to Prager to all these other people. They started asking. I don't know if they were necessarily asking a question. They were more like, positing a statement or a theory that for some reason people are not as upset about anti-Semitism as they are about other forms of bigotry or racism in America. And for the life of them, they can't. These people that are asking this question, they struggle to understand why that is. They really, really struggle. Some of these people are secular Jews, some of these people are Orthodox, but across the board, they struggle to, grapple with this question. They don't understand. Like, what is it about us that nobody cares? Nobody cares that we're getting obliterated in public life, right? The second thing that happened, actually, that started today, was basically all of these same people. What did they decide to do? They decided, because we can't figure this out and because no one's paying attention to us, they said, hey everyone, we are going to therefore boycott Twitter. It's like we're taking our ball and we're going home. We're gonna boycott Twitter, and we're gonna also, I think, maybe boycott Facebook for 48 hours and see how you like it. You know, the Jews are gonna make a 48-hour exodus from Twitter, and then we're gonna come back, and then we'll see if anything changed. You know, we'll see if Twitter took any action. My friends, I'll tell you something. The people who are watching, who are gonna boycott Twitter, who are gonna boycott Facebook, and who are having trouble, and actually this all ties into what I'm about to tell you guys. I'm just going to tell you, on a simple level, nobody cares. Just like nobody cares about anti-Semitism, nobody cares that you guys, nobody's going to notice. In fact, they're probably telling you secretly, the people who work at Twitter and other people, they're saying, you know what, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And that's what I'm telling you. And I'll tell you why that is, my friends. I'll tell you why that is. Because you have to understand, you need to understand that anti-Semitism is not your prototypical garden variety, shall we put it, logical, sensible hatred. It is not a racial and ethnic hatred like every other hatred in the world, or every other, hatred that stems from, let's say, ethnic conflict, for example, like the Armenians versus these guys, or Turks versus these guys, or Russians versus Ukrainians, whatever it is. It's not a garden variety hatred, my friends. And now you may say, well, yeah, what about the Israelis and the Jews and the Arabs, the Israelis and the Palestinians? This is ethnic conflict, my friends. Don't be deceived, do not be fooled. This is not ethnic conflict, this is not intramural conflict. This is a thing that comes from something deeper. It comes from a spiritual place, which is why you fail to understand, why it will not go away after all these years, no matter how much you fight it. Just like, it's funny, guys, I look at these organizations, stopping anti-Semitism, or the fight against anti-Semitism. My friends, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna fight anything. You're not gonna stop anything. This is something that transcends race. Really, it transcends race. It transcends ethnicity. How do we know that? Because the Jews come in every single different. I don't want to say race, but we come in every different culture, right? So, what binds us is not race. What binds us is a covenant, a Torah, a neshama, and spirituality. So when people say that they hate Jews, they don't actually hate a race, they don't hate a ethnicity. They hate people who have a certain spiritual makeup that makes that where the people that are behaving a certain way, meaning the Jews, it's incumbent upon them to behave a certain way and to follow a certain creed, and the people who hate us subconsciously know, or subconsciously sense, let's say, that when we're not living up to our end of the bargain, then we're doing something wrong. And I'm not talking about wearing black hats, and I'm not talking about being all religious and bobbing our heads up and down. I'm talking about being representatives of HaShem in this world. And now you guys may say, well, what about Tikkun Olam? What about helping these people? What about helping these people? My friends, that ain't being representative of HaShem. I'm talking about taking the Torah properly, looking into the Torah and understanding what the Torah says, understanding what HaShem wants from us, really truly understanding it, and being a light unto the nations. Really truly being a light unto the nations. And my friends, I hate to tell you, 80% of us, I would say probably more, 90% of the Jews on this planet, and I include the Orthodox ones as well, unfortunately, we just ain't cutting it. We ain't cutting it. And the nations let us know. Right? The nations will let us know. So now we're sitting around and we're saying, oh, they hate us, we can't believe it, they hate us, what the heck, we're going to walk out on Twitter, we're going to start this organization and that organization, the Anti-Defamation League, blah, 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 yakety yak, don't talk back. My friends, and I remember I was once in Phoenix, Arizona, and I told this woman at an event, she was trying to get me to sign this paper for, the North American Jewish Federations, And I'm like, what is this for? She's like, yeah, we're fighting anti-Semitism. And I'm like, lady, and I straight up told it to her face. I'm like, have you ever heard of Esav Sonei Yaakov? You can't fight it. She's like, well, yeah, I'm secular. I don't believe in that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, lady, I don't care what you believe or don't believe. I don't care if you're secular, Buddhist, Mongolian. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you believe in Genghis Khan. I'm telling you how it is. And you're going to be racking your brain. You're going to be doing what's called grinding water, as we say in Hebrew, tochen maim, just trying to figure this out. Why do they hate us? And why does nobody care? Nobody cares because, as this one gentleman is writing, we are the apple of Hashem's eye. Yes, we are. But the problem is when you're the apple of Hashem's eye and you don't know it and you don't act like it, there's a big problem. And the world lets us know about it. And now we have to sit and we have to, take a time out from Twitter and we have to figure it out. And having all these wonderful organizations and having all these wonderful movements and these marches and these, whatever symposiums, and even going to the shooting. Okay, I'll say it like this, my friends. It's okay if you want to defend yourself from people who hate you, who want to physically attack you. That's fine. But if you don't understand why they hate you, and you think that, again, it's just a garden variety hatred, just like, some people hate African Americans, some people hate Chinese, and you're looking for sympathy. Like, these same people are like, they're appealing to the African American, these rappers. They're like, come on, guys, we helped you in the civil rights movement. We have to have solidarity. What's her name? Joy Behar, this genius, came out and said, the Jews and the blacks, we have to band together against the white supremacists, and it's the white supremacists who's targeting us, and they're the only ones, and the blacks and the Jews, we should be solidarity. And my friends, this person, just like many other people, and even Orthodox Jews, she's simply not getting it. This is not an issue of racism or bigotry. This is a spiritual issue. It bothers people to the core of spirituality. It bothers them to the point where they're willing to go and invent tropes to try to figure out, and they even claim and say, no, we're not hating on you. We're actually criticizing you because, even somebody like a Farrakhan, what does he say? If you listen to his words, he says, Jews, come on, and as wrong as he is, and he says, embrace the Torah, stop. He has his own interpretation of what he thinks the Talmud is, right? Which is a classical kind of anti-Semitic trope and misinterpretation. But he says, embrace the Talmud, embrace the Torah, like the Bible, the Old Testament, and drop this whole, thing that the rabbis created, which supposedly he thinks that the rabbis said. If you read the Talmud out of context, it talks a lot about the nations, how, the way he reads it is, we're basically saying is that the nations are inferior, which isn't true, right? But he's basically saying, he's like, guys, embrace the Torah, come to the Torah, and God will help you. My friends, you have to understand something. Even the anti-Semite, as wrong as he is, and as manipulative as he can be, as hateful as he can be, as creative as he can be, he has a message for us. Again, this is not a garden variety. A lot of people are so quick to dismiss anti-Semites. It's not a garden variety hatred. It just isn't. It's something that goes back to the story of Esav and Yaakov. It goes back to the story of Yitzhak and Ishmael. Whatever we have with our cousins over here, with the Arabs, it goes all the way back. It's not about land. It's about how we view Hashem, how we view the Torah, how we see ourselves, how we see the other. If you ask Muslims, if you ask Arabs, whatever they conquered, in the eyes of, Islam, in the eyes of the Quran, is theirs forever. It doesn't matter if it belongs to the Jews, it doesn't really matter. And this is something that the majority of the world doesn't seem to understand. They don't get it. They don't understand it. Which is why they can't identify the problem. They can't identify, so to speak, where the conflict stems from. And if you can't identify the problem and you can't identify where the conflict stems from, you're not going to solve it. You just keep going in circles, which is what we're doing with these two-state solutions and all these other wonderful things. You're not speaking the same language. You're not defining your terms. Again, just like with anti-Semitism, my friends, if you don't understand that Esav hates Yaakov because of something spiritual, because we took the birthright from this person, because Yaakov took the birthright from Esav, and you see that Christianity for like the longest time And now it's not Christianity. Now it's just Western civilization. It's trying to hold the mantle of, prominence. And they see that the Jew is back. The Jew is back in his state. He has his own country, his own army, his own high-tech, his own this and that and the other, and the works. And it drives him off the wall. So now you may say, well, what about the non-Jews who love Israel? Yeah, there's righteous of the nation. So people understand, okay, maybe it's time to do what's called the tikkun. Maybe it's time for Asaph to do the tikkun. Trump understands this. That's a whole other conversation. If you guys want to, look into that, you guys should watch some of Rabbi Kessin's lectures. But apart from that, you look at what's going on with, again, some of these prominent African-American, these artists who are following Louis Farrakhan. There is a new, I can't even call it replacement theology. It's more like replacement, I guess it's not theology, but just they're trying to replace a nation. Replacement nationalism, let's put it that way, right? My friend Rahel is saying, would add to that Gentile sense that the Jewish neshama affects spiritual worlds. To affect the tikkun, theirs don't. Another cause for envy. Yeah, listen, it's a spiritual envy. What these African Americans, not all, but these particular gentlemen on Twitter who are following Farrakhan, who are being told that we're the real Jews, we're the real Hebrews. I just had a whole discussion with this guy. Hebrew. I asked him, what is a Hebrew? He goes, Ha'ivri, it comes from Abraham. I'm like, yeah? Okay, so who's Abraham? Abraham came from Ur, what's today Iraq, and where he came to Israel. Avram Avinu. He's in the Torah. This guy didn't have such a background in Torah. I'm like, read the Torah, man. He's not from Africa. I hate to tell you this. He's not African American. He's not African. He's not black. Okay, that's B'nai Ham, right? So my friends, this is a spiritual envy. This is something that goes deep into the core of the human spiritual experience. It's not a prototypical, bigotry and hatred for whatever. It's like people who say, I don't like Chinese people, I don't like these people, I don't like those. It's something deeper. It's something spiritual. We know that because of all of the different contradictory and conflicting accusations that have been made against the Jew over time. They've called us poor, they've called us rich, they've called us capitalist, they've called us communist, they've called us godless, they called us, religious, or wrong religion. We killed their God, we killed Mr. J.C. Penney. Then they said that we don't have a land, that we're cosmopolitan. Then we came back to Israel, they said we're occupying. My friends, we have been accused of things that contradict each other. That's how we know that this is not a garden variety hatred. This is something spiritual. And this is why the world doesn't, you're trying to hold the world to task. Come on, guys, why don't you care? Why isn't anybody upset? It's like Will Ferrell in the character Mugatu in what is it called, Zoolander. Why doesn't anybody notice these things? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. My friends, you're not taking crazy pills. You just don't understand. You just don't understand where this is coming from. This is coming from a spiritual place, and this is why you cannot hold the people who feel something spiritually to task. You make them feel bad about hating you. Because again, this is not about a racial, cultural thing. This is something much deeper. And you have to figure it out, not them. Just like you going 48 hours off Twitter, you're not going to solve a thing. I want to see what happens. I can't wait for Wednesday. My friends, all these people are writing, there's like this long hashtag, no safe space for Jew hate, something like that. And then it says, see you on Wednesday. Yeah, what's going to be on Wednesday? You know what's going to be on Wednesday? It's going to be Wednesday. It's going to be hump day in America and the day before, the last work day of the week in Israel. My friends, nothing's going to happen on Wednesday. Absolutely nothing. All of the prominent thought leaders, the Jewish thought leaders, these, hoity-toity New Yorker magazine, whatever, Bari Weiss types are going to come back to, and I love Bari Weiss, don't get me wrong, they're going to come back to Twitter and they're going to be like, crickets. Nothing. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Oh, my friend's writing, Islam is a religion of shame. They were supposed to be the replacement. Yeah, religion of the Jews. It is intolerable shame that the Al Yahud is back in, not superior, but back in the land. Yes, and ruling over them. Yes, correct. Promotes Achdut when we mess up. Yeah, listen, hatred of the Jewish people promotes another thing. I think Hashem is doing this right now. He wants us to have unity. Or as Rick James once said, unity! He wants the Jewish people to have achdut, unity, in a time, especially, this is happening, if you guys think it's an accident, this is happening during the 9 days, where it's a famous thing that we did not have unity, and it led to the destruction of our temples, which is like 20 minutes behind where I'm sitting. Now we have a situation where the world, once again, the Western world unabashedly hates us, and it's not going to stop hating us. It's not going to be ashamed of hating us. It doesn't care that it hates us. It can't be held to task for hating us. And no amount of canceling Twitter and Facebook is going to make them care. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to have some unity. We're going to have the Barry Weisses, and we're going to have the Dennis Pragers, and the Eric and Brett Weinsteins, the professors, no relation to the other Weinstein. You know, the Ben Shapiros of the world, and all these other people. Maybe. And also Noam Chomsky, who wrote a letter, included himself in the letter to all these social justice warriors. The guy who would walk with people on campus against Israel wrote a letter to these same people saying, hey guys, you've gone too far with the cancel culture. Maybe all of us can now have unity. We can realize that, you know, it's basically, you know, I don't want to say us against the world, but it's basically like there are people who hate us equally for spiritual reasons. It's a spiritual envy. It's a deep-seated spiritual issue. And we have to realize that. And that's it. Just have unity about it. And understand this is who we are. And not rail against each other, you know. And not go against, you know, secular versus religious, or religious versus secular. Or even within religious, go against, you know, Chabad versus Litvak. Or these guys go against these rabbis. Or these rabbis go against these guys who they disagree with and call them Erev Rav. You know, it's, my friends, honestly, Hashem, when he looks at this stuff, he's just like, you know what? You guys don't want to play nice with each other? And I'm going to send you Farrakhan. And I'm going to send you Nick Cannon. And I'm going to send you Ice Cube. And I'm going to send you anybody who tries to help you. And they're going to be called Uncle Tom. You know, you guys saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of all people. He marched in the civil rights movement. He realized, wait a minute, the Jewish people were the ones who, for the first guys, when nobody else helped us, they were the ones to help us. And he came out and said, hey guys, hating Jewish people is not going to help our cause. And guess what they did? They called him Uncle Tom. They called Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a man who risked his career in the beginning of his basketball career when he was 20. I think he was in college still, in UCLA. He risked his whole career before he got into the NBA. He joined Muhammad Ali when Muhammad Ali, what is it called? When he refused to go to the army, he joined Jim Brown. He sat there, this young, you know, doofy, tall, lanky kid, scared out of his mind, and, you know, went with the civil rights movement, and Jews joined him, and he realizes that's, you know, who helped him, and he tried to tell his brothers, he tried to say, hey, Nick Cannon, listen, what's up, man? It's not going to help your cause to hate on the Jews. And then they called him, oh, you Uncle Tom. You Uncle Tom, my friends. We have to realize we are alone in this world. Just like Alan Dershowitz famously said, Israel is the Jew of the world. The state of Israel is the Jew of the world. The Jewish people, at the end of the day, I hate to say it, I mean, listen, I'm grateful for all of the what's called righteous of the nations and all of the non-Jews who are watching this and love us and help us and all that kind of stuff. I'm grateful for you guys. But at the end of the day, the Jewish people have to realize that all we really have in the end of the day is Hashem. And we have to connect to Hashem. And what the world really wants from us is for us to lead. Not to be in our ghettos. And I'm not saying, again, wear black hats or this or that, but to really, truly be a representative of Hashem on this earth. To every single thing that we do, to make a Kiddush Hashem, to be a Kiddush Hashem on this earth. So much so, you know, it's like that book, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. So much so that even the anti-Semite will say, wow, all these people that we thought were scumbags on, you know, 47th Street with jewelry and you know, deceiving us and finance and Hollywood and all this nasty stuff, which they're actually right about, they're not wrong. All of a sudden we can flip the script and we can start behaving in a more upstanding way, and all these anti-Semites will have nothing to say. They will have nothing to even invent, because there will be nothing. There will be no material for them. we will have given them absolutely no material. My friends, if you think about why did the non-Jewish world, when they the religion that they latched onto, Christianity, why does it have it's interesting that they worship a Jew who they've turned into this perfect figure. Don't you ever wonder about that? They're looking for the Jew to lead, to be connected to HaShem, and they're looking for the Jew to be basically perfect. And listen, we're not perfect. We can't be perfect as human beings, but what we can be, and what they're looking for, really looking for us to do, for us to be, is a light unto the nations, to make a kiddush Hashem. And I hate to say it, the majority of us, either we're not doing that, or we're trying to do it in this misguided way. We're trying to not be ourselves. Guys, I don't know if you ever see the movie Cool Runnings with John Candy. It's a movie about the Jamaican bobsled team, right? It's a true story. These guys were in the 1988 Calgary Olympics, the Jamaican bobsled team. And at one point in the movie, the leader of this bobsled team, he was like, hey, we should do stuff like the Swiss team. These guys are all about precision and they're like a clock. So this guy, he basically started taking the strategy and the methodology of the Swiss team. And they realized after a while that it actually wasn't working for them. And two of his teammates, they're like, hey guys, are we the Swiss or are we Jamaican? Who are we? Do we want to be ourselves? How do we get to this point? Were we successful when we were the Swiss? Or were we successful when we were actually just Jamaican, which is what we are? My friend is asking, if anti-Semitism is anchored in the basics of our origins and emergence, it's and we cannot fight it with any political, social measures, what do you think we can do in order to protect ourselves from it? Listen, we can defend ourselves physically, correct. But in terms of, to flip the script, we have to connect to Hashem. Coming from Europe, I wonder what would there be without our activism if we don't represent our rights in the Galut and present ourselves in an important part of pluralistic society. I don't think isolation would be the solution, similar to the fact that I will have a problem with the idea that all Jews should live in Israel. Listen, I'm not talking about isolation. Again, you're thinking of in terms of pluralistic, we're just one of the many peoples in pluralistic societies, blah, 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 blah. No. We are basically the conductor of the world, and this is what the world is subconsciously looking for us to be. This is what they want from us. And when all we're doing is living among the nations and trying making our desperate attempt to assimilate and be like everybody else, then they let us know, like they always let us know, and they tell us, hey, you're not one of us. It's a spiritual issue. My friend Yael is asking, are you single? Yes, unfortunately I am. Or maybe fortunately. It's a spiritual issue, my friends. This is not about pluralism or being a part of any kind of pluralism or tapestry, schmapestry. This is about us leading the way, being a beacon for Hashem, and leading the way. We are the small nation for a reason. We are meant to stand out as a small nation. This is why these people invent these tropes about us, because they are trying to figure out why we're not doing our job, and it makes them upset. But at the same time, they're also envious, because they're saying, well, if these guys are not going to do it, then we're going to do it. We're the real Jews. Just like these African Americans are saying. Not all of them, but some of them, right? And they're following this, this fake, I call him Bilam, he's like a fake prophet. It's funny because, Farrakhan, just like any other anti-Semite, these guys are like Bilam. What they do is in their attempts to curse us, they actually end up blessing us. That's a separate conversation, my friends. Yeah, so, my friends, I really hope I've tackled this issue. I really hope you more or less understand what I'm saying. And for all of you thought leaders on Twitter and Facebook, if you think for 1 second that you boycotting Twitter is going to work in your favor or is going to do anything and anyone's going to care and you're going to solve the problem, I hate to tell you guys the news, I hate to break it to you, absolutely not a soul on earth cares. What they do care about is they don't want to see you hiding for 48 hours. What they want to see, if you came out and you said, we're going to tweet psukim, verses from the Torah That would be much, much better. You know, if Bari Weiss and Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro and Alan Dershowitz tweeted psukim from the Torah, and if Ben Shapiro, when Joe Rogan asks him, "Hey Ben, why do you keep kosher?" and instead of Ben Shapiro saying, "Well, it's just a lifestyle, and you do the thing, and they do your thing, and we have nice kosher restaurants," instead of that, Ben, you actually explain to Joe why we keep kosher and what it actually means and what are the spiritual ramifications and what it actually is and what the halacha says and why it says it and what's the Kabbalah and what's this and what's that and why it's important. You know, that would be much, much better than you hiding from yourself and hiding from the world, because that's not what they want from us. They want to see us in all of our glory and all of our and everything we have to offer and everything that HaShem gave us for us to be the conduit of His, you know, His message really on this planet, on this universe. That's really what they want from us. They don't want us to hide for 48 hours from Twitter because we're upset. No, they want us to do the exact diametrical opposite, my friends. Okay, so you know, watch what happens on Wednesday. Absolutely nothing. You guys are going to come back to Twitter. I guarantee you, not a thing's going to change. And you know what? They're just going to ramp it up. The Nick Cannons and the, what is it? The J Electronicas and the Louis Farrakhan's and the Ice Cube. That's what's up. They're just going to keep going until we give them the real answer that they want. It's just going to keep on trucking. Alright, my friends. I hope I said my piece. I hope it was, you know, more or less clear what I meant. And any questions, feel free to message. Alright guys, talk to you soon.